Rain hammered the glass windows of Crestfall Tower, the city's sleekest skyscraper and headquarters of the multi-billion-dollar tech empire, Astrodyne. Inside, the boardroom gleamed with polished mahogany, crystal glasses, and the scent of fresh coffee and power. Outside, nature raged. It was 8:52 a.m. The receptionist's perfectly manicured hand hovered over the intercom. "Mr. Caldwell, your 9 a.m. intern interview candidates are beginning to arrive." Julian Caldwell didn't look up from his phone. The 40-year-old CEO was a man who didn't waste words. With his tailored charcoal suit, watch worth more than a Tesla, and sharp jawline that looked like it could slice through diamond, he was the kind of man who made investors swoon and competitors shiver. Let them wait. And so, they did. All except one. At exactly 9:01, the boardroom door burst open. Heads turned. Eyebrows shot up. A stunned silence fell over the room as a young woman staggered in, soaked, gasping, and completely covered in mud. Her name was Emily Carter. Her once cream blouse was stained brown. Her pant legs clung to her like second skin. Clumps of dirt dripped from her elbows, and one shoe was missing entirely. Her hair was plastered to her face, and her left eye had a cut from a rogue tree branch. "Hi," she wheezed, smiling despite herself. "Emily Carter, here for the internship interview." There was a beat of stunned silence. A male candidate let out a snort he quickly tried to disguise as a cough. The panel of executives blinked. One woman adjusted her glasses and leaned in, as if trying to decipher whether this was some kind of performance art. Julian finally looked up. Their eyes met. Hers were wild, but determined. His were unreadable. "Ms. Carter," he said, his voice calm, deep, and unnervingly smooth. "You appear to have had a morning." She straightened, trying to maintain some dignity. "You could say that." Julian stood and walked toward her slowly, hands clasped behind his back like a curious king inspecting a court jester who'd wandered into the throne room by mistake. "Do explain." Emily inhaled, mud squelching between her toes. "The bus broke down 2 blocks away. I ran the rest of the way, but then a passing car splashed through a puddle and—" She gestured to herself. "I slipped and fell. I lost my shoe. But I really didn't want to be late." Julian turned to the panel. "Anyone else have trouble arriving?" They shook their heads. "I took an Uber," one candidate said smugly. Julian raised an eyebrow. "Very convenient." He turned back to Emily. "Why didn't you call to reschedule?" She hesitated. "I figured if I wasn't serious enough to show up, rain, mud, and all, then maybe I didn't deserve the job." The room was silent again. Then Julian Caldwell did something no one in the room expected. He laughed. Not a polite chuckle or a sarcastic scoff, but a genuine, full-bellied laugh that lit up his usually stoic face. "Well," he said, "you certainly made an entrance." He stepped aside and gestured to the seat at the end of the table. "Take a seat, Ms. Carter. You're going first." Emily sat, squelching softly, trying to ignore the rivulet of mud running down her ankle. She noticed the other candidates exchanging glances, some amused, others annoyed. One, a sleek-looking guy named Marcus, clearly thought this was a waste of time. Julian leaned against the window, arms crossed. "Let's begin. Emily, tell me." "Something no resume can." She blinked. Okay. Well, I once built a working prototype for a water purification system using nothing but soda bottles, charcoal, and an old bicycle pump. It saved our science fair team in high school when our original project exploded. Literally. It also gave 3 people food poisoning. But lessons were learned. The room chuckled. Even the woman with the glasses cracked a smile. Julian tilted, his head. "Interesting. Why tech?" "Because tech isn't just innovation, it's access. My little sister has cerebral palsy. I watched my mom fight for years to afford the devices she needed. Speech software, mobility tools, even basic communication apps. I want to build solutions that don't cost a fortune to help kids like her." Julian's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes flickered. "What do you think you'd learn at Astrodyne?" Emily smiled. Hopefully, how not to bankrupt myself while making that dream come true. Few people laughed again, but Julian didn't. He turned to his executive panel. We'll continue with the rest. Ms. Carter, please remain after the session. Emily nodded, her stomach tightening, as the other candidates went through their meticulously rehearsed answers. I want to innovate the blockchain. My startup got angel funding at 19. I went to MIT and interned at Tesla. Emily sat there, a literal mess, wondering if she'd just thrown her career away. Finally, the interviews ended. The other candidates were dismissed, except her. Julian waited until the room was empty. Then he walked over to Emily and leaned against the edge of the table. What's the real reason you came here today, Emily? She looked at him, confused. I just told you? He shook his head. No. The real reason. Most people would have rescheduled, gone home, cried, maybe tried again next year. You showed up looking like you crawled through a war zone. Why? Her voice softened. Because I didn't want to wait another year. Because I can't afford to. Because every minute I waste is a minute someone like my sister goes without help. And because people like you don't give girls like me second chances. Julian looked at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, he pulled a phone from his pocket. Emily Carter, he said, dialing a number. Welcome to Astrodyne. She blinked. Wait, are you… what? Seriously? He nodded. You start Monday. Her jaw dropped. But look at me. He smiled, sharp and warm at the same time. Exactly. Then he walked out, leaving a stunned, muddy intern in his wake, and the entire company buzzing with rumors before lunchtime. 3 days later, Emily Carter stepped off the elevator into the 47th floor of Crestfall Tower, dry, clean, and terrified. She had found a thrifted blazer that almost matched her black trousers and borrowed her cousin's old laptop that wheezed when it booted up. Her hair was neatly pulled back, and her only jewelry was a thin bracelet her little sister had made her from string and glass beads. The receptionist, clearly remembering the mud-soaked scene from Monday, gave her a polite, "Smile, Mr. Caldwell is expecting you. He said to go straight in." Emily blinked. Straight into the CEO's office? The receptionist simply nodded and returned to her keyboard. Emily took a breath, then another, then pushed open the thick glass door marked Julian Caldwell. CEO inside was a sleek minimalist office with an enormous glass wall behind the desk, offering a panoramic view of the city, and in front of that window stood Julian, back turned, phone to his ear. No, I want projections by Thursday. If it's late again, I'll reassign the entire team to another department, he said coolly. Yes, I'm serious. Bye. He turned as he ended the call, pocketing the phone. Emily. Mr. Caldwell, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. I'm here. He walked toward his desk and gestured for her to sit. So you are, on time, dry, and surprisingly still interested. Of course I am. You'd be amazed how many people accept an offer, then ghost on the first day. Even ones without mud-related trauma. Emily smiled politely but said nothing. Julian sat across from her, steepling his fingers. Now, I'm not going to insult your intelligence by pretending this is a typical internship. You're not here to fetch coffee or shadow an engineer taking notes. You're here because you made me curious. Her eyebrows raised. Curious? He leaned in slightly. You have 0 industry connections, no Ivy League degree, no internship at Meta or Google. On paper, you don't belong here. But you showed up like a lunatic with mud in your eyebrows and fire in your eyes. I take it that's not standard candidate behavior, Emily said dryly. Julian actually grinned. Far from it, which is why I'm going to offer you a deal. You're on a trial internship for 1 month. You'll shadow our head of product. Innovation. You'll attend meetings, contribute ideas, and even prototype if you're capable. And at the end of 30 days, he paused. I'll either offer you a full-time junior developer contract starting at $95,000 a year, or I'll write you a glowing letter of recommendation to any tech company you want. No hard feelings. Emily's heart thudded. That's incredibly generous. It's not charity, he said flatly. It's a bet. A bet? Julian stood again, walking to the window. I bet my entire career on instincts. On outliers. And right now my instinct says you might be one of them. Emily's pulse quickened. There's a condition, Julian added, turning back. Of course there is. You're not allowed to tell anyone in the company that I hired you personally. To everyone else, you're just another intern who slipped through the cracks. Emily frowned. Why? If people think you're special, they'll treat you like you are, and I want to see what happens when they don't. Week 1. The icebox, Emily's assigned workspace, was a barely heated, cluttered side room in the Product Innovation Department, nicknamed the Icebox for its freezing temperature and chilly team dynamic. Her supervisor, Lisa Eng, was a no-nonsense programmer who seemed constantly irritated, though it wasn't clear if Emily specifically caused it or if it was just Lisa's default setting. Here's your onboarding packet, Lisa said, dropping a thick folder onto Emily's desk. You'll mostly be shadowing and taking notes. If we have a sprint that needs extra hands, I might throw you some scraps. Emily smiled. Looking forward to it. Lisa raised an eyebrow. Are you always this positive? Only when I'm freezing and overwhelmed. Lisa snorted, possibly the closest thing to a laugh she ever gave, and walked away. The week passed in a blur. Emily took notes like her life depended on it. She stayed late every evening, reviewing code snippets, trying to decipher internal tools and systems. She asked questions, not too many, but the right ones. She brought Lisa coffee once, black, no sugar, and learned never to do that again. And by Thursday, she had fixed a bug in a prototype chatbot that had stumped the junior dev for 2 days. Lisa didn't say thank you, but she left Emily a sticky note the next morning that simply read, "You missed a semicolon in line 284. Good. Kedus it was, apparently, the equivalent of a standing ovation. Week 2, the setup on. The second Monday, Emily was summoned to a product demo meeting that included directors from 3 different departments. Julian Caldwell walked in halfway through and didn't acknowledge her once. He sat silently, arms folded, as the lead designer unveiled a VR-driven project using eye tracking and AI interaction. After the presentation, Julian asked a single question. Emily, thoughts? The room turned to stare. Emily looked up from her notepad, startled. Well, it's impressive. But I think the lag in eye tracking might cause nausea for some users, especially those with vestibular issues or wearing glasses. Also, if this is for educational use, the system needs a lower latency threshold or it'll frustrate students instead of helping them. There was a pause. Julian tilted his head. And how would you fix that? Emily blinked. Dual buffer rendering using prediction algorithms. Maybe partner with someone like Lumino Tech. They already have adaptive latency models. The room was dead silent. Julian stood, meeting adjourned, and walked out. The lead designer stared at her like she'd grown horns. Week 3. The turning point, Emily's confidence began to grow. Lisa started giving her actual assignments. She presented a wireframe for an accessibility-focused voice assistant, which Julian happened to praise during a town hall as an interesting internal concept. But despite the wins, Emily noticed the sideways glances. Who is she again? Some intern from HR? Did she really just correct Marcus's pitch deck? And more than once, she overheard whispers about how fast she was being looped into high-level meetings. The truth was, she didn't know why Julian was pushing her like this. Was she just another experiment? Week 4. The bet comes. Due on the final day of her 1-month trial, Emily was called to Julian's office again. She entered, heart pounding, unsure of what to expect. Julian stood, hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. Well, you made it. I did. He handed her a sealed envelope. Your offer letter, 95K base, stock options, and mentorship track. She stared at it, speechless. You earned it, he said. But more importantly, you proved me right. Emily slowly took the envelope. Was it really just a bet? Julian gave her a long look. Everyone else walked into that interview hoping to impress me. You walked in willing to lose your dignity just to show up. That's the kind of person I want building the future. Emily smiled, the weight of 4 weeks lifting off her shoulders. I won't let you down. I know. He opened the door for her. Oh, and one last thing. Yes? Monday, you're presenting your accessibility assistant prototype to the board. Emily froze. What? Julian grinned. Time to see what happens when the mud dries. The envelope burned a hole in Emily's bag. She hadn't stopped reading it. Her offer letter, real, with the company logo, signature, benefits package, and a salary that felt like something from another dimension. Just a month ago, she was washing dishes at a diner and checking on her little sister between shifts. Now, she was being asked to present a product to the Crestfall board. The board, not Lisa, not the innovation team. The people who could sink or launch entire departments with a shrug. And that's what terrified her most. The assignment. The following morning, Julian had made it official in a company-wide calendar invite. Board review. Product prototype. Accessibility focus. Presenter. Emily Carter Room, 51A, Executive Conference. Hall time Friday 9 a.m. Lisa walked past Emily's desk that morning and dropped a protein bar on it. You'll need this. Emily looked up. Thanks. Boardroom's brutal. Keep it short, keep it clear. Don't let them see you flinch. Emily nodded, her palms already sweaty. By midweek, she had drafted 3 versions of her presentation. She rehearsed it in the stairwell, in the elevator, at night in her tiny apartment while her sister Zoe watched YouTube on the couch. You sound like one of those robot ladies, Zoe said on Wednesday night. Emily blinked. I do? Yeah. Like Siri. But with a nervous breakdown, that stung. But it was also fair, so she rewrote her script. Again. Thursday night breakdown by Thursday at midnight. Emily was sitting on the floor of her apartment, laptop open, surrounded by empty tea mugs and printed slides. I can't do this, she muttered. She didn't hear Zoe get up. You said that about your math final, Zoe said, rubbing her eyes. That was different. Zoe plopped down next to her. No, it wasn't. You studied, you cried, you panicked, and then you crushed it. You do this every time. You're just scared. Emily stared at her. Also, Zoe added, don't wear that beige jacket. You look like a sad librarian. That finally made Emily laugh. Friday morning, showtime. Emily arrived at Crestfall Tower at 7:45 a.m. Her presentation wasn't until 9 o'clock, but she wanted time to breathe. She wore a midnight blue blazer that cost more than she could afford, but she'd borrowed it from a friend who believed in dressing for the job you wanted. Her slides were triple-checked. Her prototype was backed up on 3 drives. By 8:45, she stood outside conference room 51A, heart pounding. Don't faint, she whispered to herself. Please don't faint. The double glass doors opened. Julian stepped out, checking his watch. When he saw her, he gave a short nod. They're in a good mood today. Someone on the board just made $12 million off a biotech IPO. Oh, good, Emily muttered. Then they'll be extra generous when I embarrass myself. Julian smirked. They won't. You're ready. Inside the lion's den, the conference room was twice the size of any space Emily had ever been in. The table was shaped like a crescent moon, with 6 board members seated across from a large projection screen. Each of them looked like they belonged on a magazine cover. Suits that cost more than her rent, watches that glittered like stars, and eyes that could slice through steel. Julian stood at the side, arms crossed, silent. Emily plugged in her drive, clicked through to her first slide, and turned around. Good morning, she began, voice only, slightly shaking. My name is Emily Carter. I'm a product innovation intern, and I'd like to show you something I've been working on. The first slide read, Accessibility is not a feature, it's a foundation. She paused, letting the room breathe. Then she launched into the story of her sister, how Zoe had struggled with dyslexia and ADHD, how most tech solutions assumed a one-size-fits-all model, and how she had built a voice assistant prototype that adapted to how users listened, learned, and engaged, not just how clearly they spoke. Every time her voice shook, she anchored herself by looking at the prototype device in her hand. Something she'd cobbled together from second-hand Raspberry Pi parts and voice libraries she'd customized in Python. "This isn't about building something flashy," she said near the end. "It's about building something that listens, especially to the people who are used to being ignored." Silence. Julian gave nothing away. The board chair, a regal woman named Dana Lynn with silver hair and a navy dress, leaned forward. "Emily," she said. "Who told you to build this?" "No one," Emily said. "I just started." "Who gave you permission?" Emily swallowed. "I didn't know I needed it." Dana stared at her, then slowly smiled. "Good answer." The vote, Emily left. The room shaking. Julian caught up with her 2 minutes later. "They're voting now." "Voting on what?" "Whether your prototype goes into internal dev as an alpha project. If it passes, it gets funding. If not, well, it'll make a nice resume line." Emily nodded, barely breathing. "Hey," Julian said gently. "You did everything right. Whatever happens, you won the second you walked in there." Emily gave him a shaky smile. "I'm still terrified." "Good, that means it matters. That means it." The outcome by 1 p.m. She was back in the icebox. Lisa glanced at her. "How bad?" "I don't know yet," Emily said. Lisa handed her a sticky note. Julian called. It read, "Alpha status approved. You're in. Proud of you. J. Emily." Stared. "Holy language," Lisa said without looking up from her monitor. Emily sat down, heart soaring. She had done it. Not just earned the job. Not just survived. She had launched something hers. But not everyone was happy. Later that evening, as most of the office emptied, a junior developer named Trevor leaned against the water cooler and muttered to a colleague, "Can't believe she got greenlit. I've been here 2 years and can't even get my pitch heard. Rumor is she's got a backdoor connection to Caldwell." "Figures." Emily walked by, hearing it, feeling it. The whispers had returned. But this time, she didn't let them sink in. She walked on, shoulders back. Back at home that night, Zoe greeted her at the door with wide eyes. "You're on the company website. They're calling you a breakout star or something." Emily laughed and hugged her tightly. "You're my breakout star." They stayed up late eating popcorn on the couch while Emily finally let herself believe it. She belonged here, not because of a bet, but because she refused to let the mud define her. Her prototype had been approved. She had a real salary. Her face, awkward smile and all, was now featured in Crestfall's internal newsletter as the innovator to watch, and her sister Zoe had printed it out, stuck it to their fridge, and circled it in glitter gel pen. But success at Crestfall didn't mean safety. It meant visibility. And visibility painted a target. Emily didn't know that yet, not until things started going wrong. The first glitch Monday morning, the weekday. After her boardroom pitch, Emily walked into the office early to prep for a feature review meeting. She opened her laptop and found the latest build of her prototype broken. The UI wouldn't load. Voice recognition had stopped responding. Her log files were a mess of errors that hadn't existed the night before. She sat up straighter. "What the hell?" Lisa wasn't in yet. Emily rolled back the Git repo to an earlier commit, clean and functional. Everything worked again. She checked the commit logs. Nothing suspicious. No recorded changes from anyone but her. Weird. The second incident. 2 days later, she walked into a team sync and found that her presentation slides had been swapped. Instead of the voice adaptive learning roadmap she had uploaded, the file contained a half-finished, outdated framework she'd abandoned 2 weeks ago, complete with typos and broken diagrams. She went pale. Colleagues exchanged glances. Julian wasn't in the room, but Lisa was. Emily quickly corrected the mistake, presenting from memory and walking the team through the updated plan. She recovered, but barely. After the meeting, Lisa cornered her. "You're slipping," Emily frowned. "I swear I didn't." "Doesn't matter. If you look sloppy, the sharks will smell blood." Emily clenched her jaw. "Got it." The third and most damaging on Friday morning, Emily arrived to find that her system credentials had been flagged and temporarily revoked. When she tried to log into her dev environment, she was locked out. Her badge didn't work in the elevator. Her email access had been suspended for unusual activity. She spent 20 minutes on the phone with IT. When they finally restored her access, they informed her that someone had used her credentials at 2:41 a.m. the night before to download a sensitive code package from an internal server. Emily's stomach dropped. "That wasn't me. We're running an audit," said the IT rep. "But this could be a serious breach. Expect to be contacted by security." And they did. An hour later, she was sitting in a stark gray room across from Crestfall's head of security, Martin Drexel, square jaw, dead eyes, military posture. "You're on a probationary contract," he said, without looking up from his tablet. Security breach during probation could be grounds for dismissal. Emily swallowed. "I didn't do it." "Can you prove that?" "I was home. Ask my sister. Check the Wi-Fi logs. We'll look into it." He stood. "In the O. Meantime, stay out of the mainframe environment and off the record." He leaned in. "Watch your back, Carter." The gut punch that night, Emily stayed late in the icebox. Everyone else had gone home. She sat at her desk, heart racing, mind spiraling. She thought she'd proved herself. She thought the hardest part was over. But someone was coming for her, and they were getting smarter. Suddenly, a voice came from behind her. "You're still here?" It was Julian Caldwell. Emily turned around, startled. "I could say the same. About you." Julian leaned against Lisa's desk. "Heard about the breach and the slides and the weird repo rollback. You think I'm making it up? I think someone's making it look like you're slipping." She sighed, defeated. "So what now?" Julian looked at her for a long moment. Then he tossed a black flash drive onto her desk. "Install this on your dev machine." Emily stared. "What is it?" "Custom tracker, stealth logger, records all activity. Whoever's messing with you won't see it coming." "That's kind of terrifying." He gave her a tight smile. "So is sabotage." Emily picked up the drive. "I'll find out who it is," she whispered. "And I'll end this." Julian nodded once. "That's the spirit." The trap over the weekend. Emily set the bait. She re-uploaded a new prototype file. Harmless, empty code, but with a file name suggesting critical updates. She logged into her system through her phone, not her laptop. Then she waited. Bye. Monday morning, the stealth tracker had done its job. An access attempt had been made at 3:13 a.m. Sunday night from an internal Crestfall IP. Same as before, download request, dummy code accessed, her credentials used. But this time, the tracker also captured a second signature, a machine ID linked to a laptop issued to one person, Trevor Lynch. Junior developer. Same team, same guy who had whispered to others about her getting special treatment. The confrontation, Julian reviewed the logs in his office. "Sloppy move," he said, flipping through the data. "He wanted me out," Emily said. "Maybe to get my spot, maybe just out of jealousy. I don't know." Julian looked up. "What do you want me to do?" Emily hesitated. "I want you to do nothing." Julian raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me?" "I want to handle this. My way." He studied her for a moment, then slowly nodded. "Fine. But make sure it's clean. The showdown." That afternoon, Emily walked into the icebox with purpose. Trevor was at his desk, sipping a protein shake and pretending to code. Emily dropped a folder in front of him. "Hey." He glanced up. "Yeah?" She opened the folder. Inside was a printed copy of the tracker logs, IP addresses, timestamps, his laptop ID. Trevor's face went pale. "You broke into my system," she said evenly. "Framed me. Tried to kill my project." What are you? "I gave you a chance," she said quietly. "I earned my place here, and you tried to take it away because you couldn't stand that someone like me got noticed." Trevor stood, voice rising. This is a setup." "I already gave it to Julian," she said. "He knows. The only reason you're not being walked out by security right now is because I asked him to let me confront you first." Trevor's mouth opened, closed. I'm not from money, she said. I'm not connected, but I fight harder than anyone here. And the next time you try to sabotage someone, she leaned in. Make sure they're not twice as smart as you. Then she walked away. Aftermath the next morning, an email circulated. From HR. Effective immediately, Trevor Lynch has resigned from his position at Crestfall Innovations. We wish him the best in his future endeavors. Lisa passed Emily a sticky note with a single word on it. Savage. Emily smiled. Julian stopped by her desk that afternoon, handed her a small box. Inside was a ceramic coffee mug that read, Try. He didn't say a word, just nodded and walked away. Emily looked down at the mug, then at her screen, and got back to work. The sun rose over the Crestfall Tower in downtown Manhattan, reflecting off the steel and glass like a beacon of promise. Emily Carter stood outside the building, coffee in hand, watching her reflection in the polished surface. Her prototype, nicknamed EchoMind by the team, was finally ready for public testing. But today wasn't just another milestone. It was Demo Day, a real public-facing demonstration. Not just for stakeholders, but for the press, investors, and even a few government reps. One of the assistants on the marketing team had whispered to Emily earlier that week, if this goes well, they're going to greenlight funding for EchoMind as a full Crestfall product. Not an experiment, a launch. It wasn't just her baby anymore, it was a bet the company was making on her. Prepping for the big day. Lisa paced behind Emily in the demo prep room. You've got 10 minutes to demo. No technical deep dives. Show, don't tell. And for the love of all things holy, don't say disruptive. Emily nodded, adjusting the prototype headset on the table in front of her. Got it. Keep it simple, make it real. Julian entered the room, tie loosened, holding a clipboard. How's our rising star? Nervous, Emily said. You should be, Julian replied. The entire future of this product hinges on whether a bunch of people in suits are wowed enough to stop asking questions. Emily blinked. Comforting, Julian smirked. But lucky for us, I've seen you own a room full of doubters before. The demo begins. The venue was a Crestfall, innovation lab decked out in banners, lights, and screens. A stage had been set up in front of an audience of about 50 people. Journalists, VCs, policy analysts, and other tech execs. The host, a PR manager in a red dress suit, announced, Up next, one of our most promising new minds, intern turned lead developer, Emily Carter, presenting her project, EchoMind. Polite applause. Emily stepped on stage, smiling despite the thundering in her chest. She looked at the crowd, took a breath, then began. The pitch. Hi, I'm Emily, she said, and this is EchoMind. She held up the small wearable headset, sleek, minimal, designed to fit like a pair of over-ear headphones. Then she explained in short, clear sentences what made EchoMind different. For neurodiverse users, those with ADHD, dyslexia, auditory processing disorders, most tech isn't designed for them. It's designed for what's average. EchoMind listens differently. It responds to how you speak, how you learn, and even how you think when you're overwhelmed. She tapped the device. It's like a voice assistant that adapts to you, not the other way around. The screen behind her flicked on, showing a short video. A teenage boy struggling to understand school instructions, then using EchoMind to convert them into visual blocks and voice guidance. Then an elderly woman using it to remember tasks and stay calm when confused. It's not just about productivity, it's about dignity. The room was silent. Then came the applause. Stronger than before, but then came the Q&A. The scrutiny A-man from a VC firm raised his hand. What's your monetization strategy? Subscription? Licensing? Emily replied calmly. Our plan is a tiered freemium model. Free access to basic functions, premium features for institutions, schools, healthcare, elder care facilities, using government partnerships where possible. Another woman asked, how is it different from existing accessibility tools? Emily smiled. Most accessibility tools are bolted onto existing platforms. EchoMind starts with the user's challenge as its first principle. It's not an add-on, it's the core. A skeptical tech analyst stood. And what if competitors copy your core features? Julian, standing at the back, finally chimed in. Then we'll still win, because they don't have her. After the demo backstage, the buzz was undeniable. Investors approached Julian. Tech blogs began posting headlines within minutes. Crestfall Intern redefines accessibility with EchoMind. AI with empathy, meet Emily Carter's vision for a better tomorrow. Not just smart, kind, how one woman's. Prototype is changing the conversation. Lisa handed Emily a bottle of water. You didn't flinch, she said. You owned it. Emily exhaled. It's like everything just clicked. But not everyone was thrilled. As the crowd thinned, Emily spotted a man in a navy suit whispering to another executive from a rival firm, Lexam Tech, a company notorious for scooping up early-stage innovations and pushing aggressive patents. They glanced her way. Her stomach tightened. An unexpected call. The following morning, Julian knocked on her office door. You've got a meeting, now. Emily frowned. With who? Julian didn't answer. They took the elevator to the top floor, higher than she'd ever been, into the founder's suite. Inside, the room was quiet, light wood, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, and sitting at the end of the room, behind a massive desk, was Margot Weller, the elusive founder of Crestfall Innovations, gray hair. No makeup, a stare like a hawk. Sit, she said. Emily obeyed. I've been watching your rise, Margot said. From mud-soaked intern to boardroom breaker. Impressive, Emily blinked. Thank you. But there's a problem. Emily's heart dropped. What kind of problem? Margot turned a tablet toward her. An email leak, internal correspondence from Emily's own team, back and forth messages about the EchoMind code. One message accusing her of borrowing heavily from a discontinued Lexam Tech project. I didn't steal anything, Emily said immediately. I built every line, myself. I believe you, Margot said, but we can't go public unless we're airtight. The press is watching. Lexam Tech is watching. Julian stepped forward. We need legal, full IP audit ASAP. Margot nodded. I want answers fast. If you're clean, we go global. If you're not... She didn't finish the sentence. Emily stood, fists clenched. I'll prove it. I'll prove every bit of it is mine. Margot nodded. Good. Back to war within hours, Emily was working with Crestfall's legal team, engineers, and code historians to track down every version of her work, every file signature, every reference. They found a likely explanation. An old GitHub repo Emily had once explored during research. Public, marked as abandoned, but technically licensed under an open-source agreement used by Lexam Tech. It wasn't theft. It was fair use. But Lexam Tech had already filed a patent dispute. A storm was coming, and Emily was now the face of a product that might be stolen out from under her. Late night lights on. She stayed late again that night. Lisa sat beside her. You okay? No, Emily said. But I'm not quitting. Lisa smirked. Didn't think you would. Julian entered, holding a folder. Margot signed off. We're countersuing. We've got the legal ground, but you'll need to testify. Emily looked up. Under oath? Under oath. She nodded slowly. Then let's fight.